Hi, friends. It's Eric here, who's talking with French people. And I'm taking the liberty of titling this live stream, What? Typology? Yep, that's what. Typology. I thought I'd shock everybody tonight. Hi, Bacon. By discussing the strange and esoteric topic of typology. You guys heard of it before? It's this notion that people are not just all unique, beautiful snowflakes, which to me is appallingly offensive. But
I think you're a unique and beautiful snowflake.
Thanks, Irene. I think everyone is too. Okay. I want to stress this. My position is everyone's a unique and beautiful snowflake. However, I just heard about this thing called typology that purportedly says that people have similarity between themselves and other people. I'm like, what? No, they don't. They're unique snowflakes. But I thought I'd bring it up and see if the controversy drew in some viewers. I don't know. Well, Alan Bryan, what I'm telling you is apparently there's this notion out there that people, instead of being unique snowflakes, are like each other and unlike each other in predictable and set ways. I'm just like, fuck no. You don't know me. You can't box me in.
Do you think that the topic of typology is good for a dinner party?
Oh, I mean, yeah, a dinner party devoted to politics, religion, and typology. That's sure to start a lot of fights. No, it's not a good topic.
Oh.
No. What's a good topic? Share with me your unique beauty. That's a good topic. I understand. I'm not you. I can't box you in. You don't know me. I know all of those things. Anyhow, hi. Welcome to Talking with French People. I'm host Eric. I'm that old hobo, according to Dialectic Evolution. Sure. I'll debate Destiny anytime. No problem. No problem. All you gotta do is schedule a debate for me. With a resolution, for God's sakes. I wonder who Dialectic Evolution is. Dialectic Evolution hates me so much, but he's not exactly a spite monkey. But when he thinks I'm maybe not looking or something, he gets a little spiteful. He left his comment today saying, something demonstrably untrue, obviously. Somebody suggested on that Destiny video that I'm sorry to hear that, Bacon. Very, very sorry.
That does suck when it happens. When you're a TV show you really like and the second season or third season blow it.
Yeah, it sucks. So anyway, he'd say, he wrote basically, I'd pay money to watch Destiny smoke this old hobo. Is the fear of driving because you don't trust your reflexes a sign of a polar SE? Well, it's a sign of weaker SE. This is also true that, I don't know if it's true for all types or maybe just my type, but as I've gotten older, I have a little less faith in my SE and I drive somewhat more carefully. I used to be more aggressive. I also find as I get older, I begin resenting the amount of attention that driving requires of me. It takes too much extroverted sensing. I get tired after driving for about an hour and a half or so. I have a manual transmission car too, which is good and bad, but it does make driving more tiring, I think, than it otherwise would be for me. I tend to be pretty tired out after I've gone on a fairly long errand. I like olives as well. I'm a big olive eater too. And my favorite character on Popeye is Olive Oil. So.
Aww. Mine is Popeye.
Oh, makes sense.
Yeah.
He is the lead character.
He is.
Yeah.
And he is the boyfriend.
Stuck in traffic or construction is the worst with a manual.
Hello, Kitty Pageant winner.
I mean, what it boils down to is I don't mind driving a manual transmission most of the time, except when I'm trying to eat something. Then it's very bothersome to not have an automatic transmission. Eating and driving. Well, you know what? The Mini Cooper has an interesting feature. You don't roll back.
Yes.
Like you can let off the brake when you're on a hill and it won't roll back for a second, just for like a second, just long enough for you to do the thing. So you don't have to account for that. It's interesting. Yeah, it's pretty cool. The only thing is, I've been driving manual transmissions for my whole life. My first car was an automatic, but the first car I learned to drive on was a manual transmission. And so my dad insisted I learn to drive in Mammoth Lakes, California, which is a ski resort area with hills, learning to drive on his manual transmission station wagon. That's where he said I would learn to drive properly, and how I would learn to drive properly was with the stick shift on hills. That's where that's where we start.
So that's where you got the idea.
That's how I was taught. And you know, the other thing is, Dad is impatient. So, you know, he tells you how to do it, and he tells you to process that and get it right almost immediately, or else, son, I told you, blah, blah, blah. Like, fuck off, Dad. You know, come on, chill out. I'm trying to learn how to drive here. My mom would always be like worried when I would go out to learn to drive with my dad, because I think she knows how my dad is. But see, the thing is, I've always been somewhat combative. Like I give, like I don't push back at all. But I've also always had this quality that if my dad makes a mistake, crosses some line that I know I can critique him on, I'll jump on it. So it's like my dad and I have a sort of mutual warriors respect or something that my mom never had or got or understood at all. So it's like she didn't have that quality. So she thought I was more vulnerable than I was, you know. But I could always kind of fight back against my dad somewhat. So yes, Cloud. Most good MBTI YouTubers begin by criticizing host Eric. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's an ESFJ. Start there. Why host Eric's an ESFJ? That's the best.
He cooks.
I cook. I do. I just cooked a homemade chicken pot pie in the microwave that I got from Stouffer's. They made it at home. Stouffer's did. My dad would overreact with reprimanding. My mom would overreact with grabbing the handle and yelling. That sounds like a nightmare. My mom had nothing to do with teaching me how to drive. That was one of those man things. Jane, you're staying here. The last thing we need is you being scared in the back seat. You know, you taught yourself how to drive. That's pretty good. Torvis Shepherd, you are speaking such wise words. If you're going to be an MBTI YouTuber, do it with IQ.
That is the way to go.
If you make a video called Why Host Eric is an ESFJ, I will absolutely post it on my channel. No problem. As long as this following stipulations, it can't violate any YouTube community standards. Okay, so if there's a little bit of cursing, fine, but nothing that violates any community standards, then yes, I agree to those terms. Okay, if it's not going to get me in any trouble, I will absolutely put it. So, I had an interesting day today. I was sick much of the day. Last night, Rachel and I had the munchies because we were eating these. It's like I don't get the munchies from smoking weed, but I get it from eating it. And we ate these cookies and we got hungry, so we went to Jack in the Box. And Jack in the Box has a new breakfast sandwich. Now, they've always had the Supreme croissant and the ultimate breakfast sandwich. So if you want to go for a breakfast sandwich, obviously, and you want to go maximal breakfast sandwich, you've got a choice. You can choose what's more maximal. Is it the Supreme or is it the ultimate? Well, look what happened when we got there last night. They've added a third maximal choice, the loaded breakfast sandwich. Okay, so now you've got Supreme, Ultimate, and Loaded. Now, which one would you get if you want to maximize your breakfast intake? Well, maybe you're somebody who thinks Ultimate means the maximal breakfast intake. Maybe you're somebody who thinks Supreme represents the maximal breakfast intake. But last night, since it was new, Rachel and I decided to go for the loaded breakfast sandwich.
Yeah.
I can tell you, which one is the most ultimate? Which one is the most supreme? It's the loaded one. For sure. It is massive.
Loaded. I was wondering if you even had a hash brown on there. I wasn't sure.
It comes with a hash brown. I didn't even eat my hash browns.
Yeah, I know.
That's how full I was.
It was huge.
And I think I just basically overate yesterday, and that's what got me so feeling sick today. I had multiple poops, and I was shivering underneath the covers from stomach stuff,
Yeah.
I don't think there was anything wrong with the sandwich. Rachel had one too, and she was fine. But I think
only ate half of mine because
she only ate half of hers.
Yeah, because I felt my arteries clogging up with everything.
Taco Bell's family nachos are also pretty big. I believe it. So, I think it's fair to say at this point, you want bong rip? Sure. Well, I think it's fair to say at this point that both the Supreme and the Ultimate breakfast sandwiches are fraudulently named, since the loaded is both more Supreme and more Ultimate than either of the other two options. Can I get a what from the crowd on that?
What?
Thanks. Are there more ISFPs coming to typing videos? Well, here's the thing. Of late, I've gotten a lot of ISFPs. I would say possibly the last 10 people I've typed have been either ISFP, 8 of them, or INFJ, 2 of them. Something like that. Maybe something in that range of figures. As to why that is occurring right now, I'm not exactly sure, but I would say that the reason why INFJs and ISFPs like to get typed by me has to do with their absolute value in I. They want a singular answer that's satisfying. If you mistype either an INFJ or an ISFP, they are not going to be satisfied until they're typed correctly. And eventually, they find me, and I type them correctly. And then they're satisfied. And then they don't have to worry about what type they are anymore because it makes sense to them finally. For an ISFP who has polar extroverted intuition, they really need the right NI thing. It's like they're not going to be able to come up with it themselves. They're not going to be able to ideate their way out of the wrong thing because they're NE polar. But when you give them the singular truth, and so it's like in a typology community, ISFPs are encountering so much disinformation, and they're not very good at processing a bunch of different extroverted intuition things independently. But they are good at recognizing the truth when they land on it. So I think that's why they end up here. And I think that's fairly probably common too, Ethan, that an ISFP would correctly type themselves off the bat and not have to worry about it thereafter is the other possibility, right? The problem is if ISFPs start looking around the typology community and getting multiple opinions, they're going to get multiple different opinions, and they're going to get confused because it's going to sully the singularity of their NI. If they reach NI first, great. But if they don't reach NI first, what happens? Well, then they're dissatisfied until they find it. So, for those of you who are here specifically for the periodic deathbed coughing fits that you enjoy, here you go. I know that some of you here are specifically here just for the sound of Rachel coughing. And for such people, for such participants, you're welcome. There you go.
Yeah. Guys.
For those of you who are here for other reasons than Rachel's coughing, no, Rachel does not have the COVIDs. She has the sensitive lungs. You know, it's like she doesn't really pull bong riffs. Well, we need to get you a right-sized bong again, too. See, she had her bong, and then she broke her bong. She did a lot better with her bong than with this big bong. So, we'll go get her another bong that's the right size. Well, thanks, Alt. I really appreciate it. You know, I found it satisfying as well. I find typing ISFPs quite satisfying because, you know, there's this one woman one time who now in retrospect I'm convinced was an ESFP, who I was telling was an ISFP, who was insisting she was an INFJ, and we argued with her for like 3 hours, and I never got anywhere with her. And after that, I thought, you know, ISFPs are stubborn about their type. They don't want to be told they're ISFPs. But the reality is quite the contrary. ISFPs are happy to learn they're ISFPs. No, this was a long time ago. It was when I was in Laverne. It was Susie participated in trying to convince this person, and me and Spacey, we all worked on this lady trying to get her to understand, no, that's FI. That is not FE. But she was an ESFP. We were trying to sell her on the notion she was an ISFP because she was so insistent that she was an introvert. But the reality is, the reason she was so stubborn and weird about it is because she wasn't an ISFP. She's an ESFP, and they are famously stubborn. ESFPs reveal so much FE, and it's always so bad, you know? It's like only ESFP 6 slot FE would say this, being Donald Trump. I'm a very stable genius. You have to believe that. That's ESFP FE. I'm the god of everything. I know everything, and you people are all weak compared to me. That's ESFP FE. It's using a sledgehammer when a needle point is required. Yeah, ESFPs are way more chaotic than ISFPs in their cognitive presentation, for sure. Peter Gabriel. Is that a Peter Gabriel song, Running Fox? Burning down the house to get rid of a rat? Bacon says, I watched the first part of the Mead typing video. Was the correct answer to the questions, the mime is miming drinking coffee and the water in the desert is a dehydrated induced hallucination? There is no correct answer to that question. It's one of those open-ended kind of things. Peter Gabriel Salisbury Hill. I believe you mean Salisbury steak, Running Fox. Hi, Levi. Can someone with big IQ talk philosophy? What do I look like? Big IQ guy? I got 107 on the Mensa test. I'm not a big IQ guy. To be or not to be is not the question. Then what is the question? I've often wondered this. Is it, would you like another slice of cheese? That's a good question. The answer to which should usually be yes, but not always. Depends on how much. 107. 107 is not a good score on an IQ test. That's not true. I mean, I'm glad I got that score because I would much rather have a low score on an IQ test than a high score. Can anybody guess why? What do you think? What do you think my reasoning is? Why would I much rather have a low score on an IQ test than a high score on an IQ test? Because if I have a low score on an IQ test, well, let's see what. If you score high, there are expectations either way. Running Fox. There are expectations either way. Look, it works like this. It's not a direct proportional relation, but the dumber you are, the more you care about your IQ score. It's not a direct proportional correlation, but kind of, okay? And the reason is because if I'm perceived by other people as having 107 IQ, then they're going to the extent that they apply that stupid metric, they're going to underestimate me. And my behavior will make them question the validity of their own perceptions about IQ in the first place. If I have a high IQ, then people are going to come say, I'm smarter than you, even though you have a high IQ. Like if somebody comes in and says, I'm smarter than you, Eric, I go, well, that's not surprising. My IQ is 107. Right? See how much better that is? It's fantastic. Right? See? Now everybody gets to be smarter than me. Isn't that convenient? I don't have to defend being intelligent anymore. Or say I am. I could say the opposite thing. I could say, I'm not intelligent. Look, it doesn't take a smart person to see these things that I'm saying. I only have an IQ of 107. So you should be able to understand it too, right? I'm only in the 65th percentile. Running Fox, your IQ is 5? That's pretty low. That is pretty low. I wonder, how soon does it actually take you to type somebody? Like, do you know a few minutes in what type someone is? Ethan McDonald, that's an excellent question and allows me to talk a little bit about the value of ignoring NI. Nowadays, often I have a clear objective about not objective, a clear intuitive meow. When I say like I get a meow vibe from somebody, that's my NI. I'm saying NI tells me the person's meow. So for the last few people, within the first 5 minutes, my NI said ISFP. But because I'm NI ignoring, I am able to put that aside and say, Okay, but I'm not going to try to establish that they're ISFP. I'm going to try to establish that there's something else and see if I can prove my vibe thing wrong. So the reality is, most of the time my vibe thing is right, but it's not driving my inquiry. And that's the important thing. You can't type people with NI. I might be right. It might be right, but you can't type people with it because you can't justify it with it. Me saying you're an ISFP because you have an ISFP vibe is inadequate of an explanation. It may be correct. My NI was right, but it's not good enough for me to professionally type somebody and explain to them why they are that type. I have to have good reasons. I can't just say my NI tells me. So that's why it's an advantage of having ignoring NI. It's very easy for me to ignore my gut and challenge that gut and say, well, my gut's been wrong before. So let me test it. Let me push on this and this and this, And this is the thing that has got to be really frustrating for INFJs. So Rachel has said that using her app and stuff, that in fact Uranus is visible to the naked eye at certain points in time, recently, especially because it's getting near its closest point, right? A lot of people, my initial response to that in the car was, there's no way I could possibly have gotten a picture of Uranus, and I'm pretty sure you can't ever see it. But the reality is, I've come to trust Rachel's NI, even when it sounds a little crazy. And some research has revealed that, in fact, Winston's mom has a quote that says, at this point, within this time period, remembering that Uranus moves very slow. It has a very long year. So it hasn't moved that much relative to us in the last year or so. But anyway, that in fact it is visible to the naked eye. She found a quote on a science thing, barely. And that given everything else, it actually seems quite plausible that I did in fact take a picture of Uranus. Now there's one thing that makes me think it's not, which is, it does seem to me that it wouldn't appear that big in the photo if it were Uranus. It would appear smaller. However, I will point out that atmospheric conditions and various other things have lensing effects that could, in fact, cause Uranus to magnify in the photo due to a variety of different atmospheric conditions or whatever, and appear larger than it would normally appear. And that's not completely inconceivable. So the reason why I think there's good reason to think it might actually be a picture of Uranus is because it's the right color, it's in the right spot, it's at the right time, and to see it, in other words, it's at opposition where it's magnified 6 times brighter than it normally would be. All these things factor in to make me go, I think, despite the sort of immediately incredulous response, right, that I think Rachel's NI is correct, and that was in fact a picture of Uranus, despite everything that makes the rational person go, no, right? So, I mean, that's my opinion on it. There's a lot of...
I think you can see it tonight, too.
Well, I mean, that's the answer to that, Queen of Vegas, is shifting atmospheric conditions, because air moves. So at any given moment, depending on the atmospheric conditions,
And those clouds, the way it was...
All it says, lens flares don't tend to look like that. What would be... I don't quite understand what would be a lens flare. There's no source of light other than the moon in front of it. There's no... My street's quite dark. And I certainly didn't use any flash or anything.
No, and I double checked.
And Rachel has this app where you hold it up to the sky,
It's called Sky Guide,
and it tells you like what the star is. You show where the moon is, and then it'll tell you what the star is, and that's where Uranus is in relation to the moon.
Okay, so compass is on. And there's Mars, and we'll be seeing Uranus right there.
So the thing is, with all of those pieces of evidence suggesting that it on the side of yes, it is, And there's only one piece of evidence, and it could be fairly determinate, which is the size. That suggests it isn't. I don't have a good explanation for the size thing, the magnification thing, except I would say Queen of Vegas also. Note that it is naturally 6 times magnified from what it normally is right now because of where it is in its cycle of things, you know. Running Fox. I like Running Fox's opinion here. Let's just say it's Uranus.
Yes.
I was thinking one good thing I could do, it might actually get me a lot more views on that video even, is to put the question on Quora. Is this Uranus?
Quora would definitely.
Quora would probably eat that question up.
Would eat that up.
Okay, so the thing is, in the photo, you can't see the horizon, so I don't know. I don't remember. I mean, I could find the exact time that the photo was taken, but I couldn't tell you about the degrees of the horizon because I don't have the horizon in the picture. What is the meaning of the question to choose endless sadness or endless fear pill? Okay. So it doesn't have a specific meaning. And this is something that a lot of people have trouble getting about ignoring an eye. When I ask that question, people want it to have a specific purpose. Its express purpose is to talk to people about their relationship with their FI. But really, I would say that it's an open-ended thing that gets people to start talking about a subject relating to emotions that allows me to go, oh, tell me more about that, or tell me more about this. It's a very any approach in that regard. I don't ask questions knowing why I'm asking them necessarily, although sometimes I do. I'm looking for threads to tug on that seem revelatory about the person, you know? Because as you can see in those ISFP videos, people's self-reporting answers are totally unreliable. You know, if hello sub please bro help a brother out. It's a funny name. What was I talking about? FI. Right. Self-reporting. ISFPs are terrible at self-reporting okay. There's about self-reporting in general. The main reason ISFPs, I think, are terrible at self-reporting is what I would call the jumping fish phenomenon. The jumping fish phenomenon is this. If you are a fish and you receive a question of what's your relationship with air and sunlight, if you are a fish that considers yourself a good jumper, who's good at jumping out of the water, who likes to jump out of the water, or who has jumped out of the water in spectacular fashion on occasions in the past, then you're likely to answer, oh yeah, I have a great relationship with air and sunlight, even though you're a fish and I'm trying to ask the question to see if you're a bird, right? So if I take your answer as a jumping fish, yeah, I have a great relationship with air and sunlight, and go, well, you must be a bird then, I've made a very bad mistake, right? So I think ISFPs are the type that most gives me jumping fish kind of answers for self-reporting questions. Legend Falls says, projection makes everyone bad at self-reporting. We don't see our uniqueness because assume everyone is like us. Right. You start with the assumption that since everybody's always into coming up with ideas all the time, I would say that, you know, I'm about average regarding that. Well, if you assume that everybody's basically doing the same thing you're doing all the time, then you're going to, you know, you're going to assume you're about average, but because of your self-bias, you're going to say I'm above average, but you're not going to understand really where you are in relation to other people. Eric, let's get serious. Is every action the result of causality? No. Why would you think that? Do I love doing YouTube? Yes, I do love doing YouTube. Sub, please, brother. Help a brother out. I gotta say, that's a good question. I like that question. I do love doing YouTube, and I don't. Well, I do talk about it a fair amount, I guess, but it's worth talking about. I find YouTube extremely satisfying, and in fact, I find it a critical component of my overall mental health. That I have times that I'm SIing, which is just like sleeping and resting, eating and stuff, and watching like sports or something. Got times when I'm NIing, that's like watching movies or anime or consuming stuff that presents meaning in nice NI chunks, you know. Sean O'Neill, I will read your question in a second. But I don't feel as though my life is complete or I'm happy or fulfilled until and unless I pretty much every day come and live stream and tell everybody who pays attention to me about what I'm thinking about and stuff, and have you guys hopefully enjoy the experience. And then I feel like, okay, good. Without that, I feel like there's something big, huge missing in my life, you know? Okay, now I'm going to read Sean's question. Would you rather sleep with your girlfriend in her mom's body or her mom in your girlfriend's body? Good question.
Whoa.
Good question. Do I want to sleep with Rachel's mom looking like Rachel, or do I want to sleep with Rachel looking like Rachel's mom? And the answer is whichever makes Rachel less mad.
That's a great answer.
Mm-hmm.
That's very.
It's a great question too.
So wait. So how would that be? How would that go for me? Would I rather sleep with your?
You get to sleep with somebody who looks like my dad but is me inside,
Okay.
or somebody who looks like me but is my dad inside. It's actually my dad is person in my body, or my person in my dad's body.
What would you rather?
I mean, I'd rather sleep with you in your mom's body because it's still you and it's not cheating. See, this is a good metaphysical, physical question. To me, it's not cheating if it's Rachel in her mom's body, but it is cheating if it's Rachel's mom in Rachel's body.
Yeah, that is cheating. That feels more snake-like.
Does anybody disagree with that? And Sean, I excised the rest of your context because it actually made it less NI. You failed on NI grounds there, ironically. So you got what you deserved. That's why I got rid of that context.
Can't just sleep with Rachel. So, what's this Rachel like?
What is Rachel like?
I like a lot
She, let's see.
Butterflies.
Bong rips and food things and watching some TV and having intercourse with her boyfriend Hosty and driving to places to purchase some things. These are a few of her favorite things.
I would include rainbows.
Rainbows and four-leaf clovers and meow, 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 meow.
And kisses from Eric.
Come on, man. Your girlfriend's freaking out in her mom's body. Okay, well, at least we can freak out together. She can freak out with my reassurance that she'll be out of her mom's body soon. She just needs to take this dick first.
Hi. And Pee-Pee makes me happy.
Oh, yeah. Kitty. Kitty and Rachel really have a more intense relationship than me and Kitty have.
It's pretty intense.
Rachel has a more intense relationship with all of the animals, including the peacocks who are not welcome. So I have one daughter. She's 22 now, right?
Yeah.
22, yes. And in fact, I gotta go pick her up from the airport tomorrow. They will be stuck forever if you don't pull the trigger. Okay, well, I'm sure with enough effort, I'd be able to hump Rachel in Rachel's mom's body. I'm trying to see because Eric believes in free will, but all thoughts and feelings are reactions to something else. Well, see, that's the thing. Simply because a thought or an action is informed by a variety of vectors doesn't mean it's subject to being referred to as causal. This is the mistake that determinists make. Free will requires conditionality, which means that you're able to conditionally consider multiple possible actions and multiple possible outcomes. That's the definition of free will. So, do we have free will? Yes. Because why? Because we can conditionally consider meow, meow, meow. There's no other way to meaningfully establish free will, because if you can go back and undo and redo, then it's not action in the physical realm, it's action in the conditional realm. So, it's like determinists get so caught up in this thing when the answer is so straightforward. It's implicit to language. Again, Cloud, we can only know that we have free will because we can consider possible alternatives. We can't make a condition for free will something impossible, namely that causality is not causality. That once you've made a choice, you've not made a choice. That's where the determinists go wrong, is they try to set a criterion for success for establishing free will that's logically impossible. Have I ever typed another ENTP? Yeah, on a few occasions. They're pretty rare, but I typed Isaiah Rude. I typed him as INTP. I mistyped him, but I did type him, and he is an ENTP.
Who?
Isaiah Rude.
Yeah.
He was easy to mistype, I gotta say.
Do you think that he's a 7? He thinks he's a 7.
Yeah, I think he's a 7. He's got no 8 in him. That's the thing. That's maybe why. I mean, I've gotten better at typing too. The one of the nice things about being an SI type rather than an NI type is that because I am ignoring NI and not relying on it, I have to improve in the sort of skills aspects of things over time, and I invariably do. I've gotten a lot better at typing people than I used to be. I'm much more confident in my typings. You're confident when people comment a bunch of stuff that says you're wrong, it's this type, it's that type, it's this type, that it doesn't even faze you because you just know they're just talking out their ass. Do I drink Coors Light? I don't drink any alcohol at all, actually. I am a quote-unquote recovering alcoholic. I've been alcohol-free for 6+ years, and this December 26th, it will be 7 years. Thanks.
It's going to be 7 years, and also our biorhythms are going to be totally aligned that day.
Right. On Christmas Day, Rachel and my biorhythms align perfectly. So it's going to be a good Christmas day.
Yeah.
Thanks for the cheers, everybody. I appreciate it. It's a weird thing to get congratulated on because, of course, all I'm doing is being basically a responsible human being instead of a drunk, right? Those are my only two choices. So it's like, oh, good, you decided not to be evil. It doesn't really deserve applause, but I get it. I understand that people's relationships with substances and substance abuse is a big challenge for a lot of people, including me. Yeah. And I had a real serious problem with alcohol, and the only solution for me was to quit it completely. There's no middle ground, and it doesn't make any logical sense. So in other words, Cloud might say, if you really believe in free will, Eric, why don't you drink alcohol moderately? That would prove free will. Well, I don't really have free will when it comes to alcohol. I am a slave to it. There's something about the drug itself, alcohol, that makes me make poor decisions about whether or not to consume more alcohol. Do I have a son? No.
Oh, I was just going to answer that.
I just have one child.
Delilah, who's 22 and in New York right now.
Yep. She's in New York. She's hanging out with her friend April. Free will as a statement. Free will isn't a statement, it's a term. Probably sober, Darren, I would guess. I don't think I've typed many drunk people. Usually people pay for a typing session. They don't show up to a drunk. If they did, that would be fine. I wouldn't have a problem with it or anything. I just type them as usual. But, it's not my business whether they're drunk or not. Do I smoke? Yes. I do. I smoke cigarettes and marijuana. And you can see the problem with people who assume that they can determine for other people what they have a problem with and what they don't. Rachel was told for years that her problem was that she was smoking weed, but that it was fine for her to drink alcohol.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, talk about like imposing your perspective on somebody else. It depends on who you are, right? Some people have no problem with alcohol.
No, it's exactly true.
My mom never had a problem with alcohol. My dad, my dad never had a real problem with alcohol, but did drink too much and periodically would quit and or cut back. And then he would successfully do it, of course, being a TE dom. The next 2 weeks, I'm not drinking anything. And then boom, he wouldn't drink for 2 weeks. It's like this is the sort of self-disciplined role model that I have that makes me go, oh, Eric, there's something wrong with you. You're inadequate because you aren't self-disciplined like that. That's my sort of default script, right? I've learned to overcome that script, and mostly, but it's still there. And we all are subject to these kind of scripts, as we have certain values imposed upon us, either by having them modeled or explicitly instructed in them. Regarding beer, I do drink non-alcoholic beer fairly often. I've got a hierarchy of favorites. I've drank a lot of different kinds of non-alcoholic beer. My favorite is Bitburger, and my second favorite is Klaus-Holler Dry Hopped. My third favorite is probably Klaus-Holler Regular. My fourth favorite, what's it called? Not Bugler. What's that one called from? It's from like Scandinavia somewhere. Belgium. It's from Belgium, and it's called. I can't believe I can't remember the name of it. Anyway. Ethan McDonald. Yes. I plan to do a rather comprehensive video about ISFPs coming up soon. I've sort of promised a number of ISFPs that since they only use 40 minutes of their time, that I'd follow up with some extra product for them, If you've never beer bonged 40s of Old English, are you really an alcoholic? Probably not, because I have back in college. So I meet that criterion. I have, in fact, beer bonged 40s of Old English.
Oh my God.
Well, not multiple 40s of Old English.
That's tough.
A beer bonging a 40 is tough, yes.
Yeah. I wasn't able.
I mean, you don't normally get it all the way down. I don't think I successfully got a whole 40 down, but I made the attempt.
Wow. I had one for my 21st birthday. I had my first. No, 22nd birthday. I had my first beer bong ever. Right? Where you yeah. And I immediately felt like the spins after.
It's terrible. It's a terrible thing to do. Nobody should ever do it. Hi, I'm a really young viewer and I just discovered your channel. Do you have any tips on understanding typology better? Well, I've got a playlist on my channel that says like start here. So I would suggest start there. I also have, and I'll put the link here, a sort of book. It's really a compilation of one-offs. Anyway, it's called Exciting Tables and Words About Human Personality. You're welcome to look at it. Yeah, it's a real thing. It's not. I don't know why they call it a beer bong. It doesn't have anything to do with a bong. It's just a tube that makes the beer go down with less foam, and also there's no glugging, right? So the thing about it's the same as shotgunning a beer.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as shotgunning a beer. If you know what I did once in Laverne when we had channel people come visit, I shotgunned a non-alcoholic beer.
In Laverne?
Yeah, a non-alcoholic one.
Oh, non-alcoholic.
Yeah, I shotgunned a non-alcoholic beer
cool.
because everyone wanted to shotgun a beer, so I shotgunned a non-alcoholic beer.
Whoa, you must have champed it.
It's still gross. It's still like, why am I doing this? You know.
Well, the reason you're doing it is to get drunk faster, I guess.
Well, but why are you shotgunning a non-alcoholic beer? That's just pure FE. Pure FE. There's no purpose to that besides the FE.
We were talking about before how I have a cousin who is getting married next year, and we cannot wait to go for smoke breaks outside and come back smelling like weed. It's going to be so fucking good.
So Rachel's family has a bit of a history of being weed oppressors. I guess
despite having
that's a kind way to put it, if anything. Anyway, and insisting that they claim this particular ground of Rachel's ontology, that their opinions about what Rachel should do smoking weed are more important than her own perspectives on it, and have insisted for years that the reason this was so important was because it was necessary for her mental health. But the beautiful thing has happened. This wonderful, beautiful thing. Rachel come here, gotten completely mentally well, and smokes more weed than anybody but me that I can think of. And she probably a lot of days she probably smokes more weed than I do even. So it's great. It makes me so happy. It's like, do you see? I mean, now they can't even touch the subject matter without it immediately bringing up the fact that they were totally wrong for years and she was totally right for years and they were oppressing her about it. She's my girlfriend. She's my life partner. Okay, so please, bro, help a brother out. She's in between wife or girlfriend. You could call her my wife. That'd be fine too. But we're not legally married. But she's my. She completes me.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna leave you.
Okay. Listen. Please help a brother out. Rachel completes me.
We all understand.
Mm-hmm. Sorry to all the deaf people out there. Not that you could hear it, but sorry. That's F.I. Polar for you there, friends. What? F.I. Polar in the house.
What?
My deaf people jokes. My deaf people jokes are F.I. Polar.
You just made a dead person joke?
Deaf.
Oh, deaf person.
Deaf.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah. It's similar to my my joke. Listen, guys, I did recently catch retardation, okay? But it's not contagious. I'm gonna be the one who's retarded, but you're the one who's being dumb.
Well, honestly, you also have Rick Benson and Raul Diego, so
that's
you
true.
don't discriminate.
Eric, why is killing wrong? Need this answer fast. Because you get blood on your clothes, Cloud. Duh. Now you have to make a blind joke for all the blind viewers out there. Listen, you guys, I just want to tell you that music is the most important thing in the world to me. And, you really are the sunshine of my life. There's a Stevie Wonder impression for you. It's not a very good Stevie Wonder impression, but I do move my head around like a blind person.
I'm nodding.
Okay, so equal opportunity offender here. Any other marginalized groups you want me to make fun of? Oh, marginalized
you had your
groups.
fair share of working with Down syndrome patients.
Marginalized groups. I love you guys so much. I really do. I'm among you. I'm a marginalized group. You know why? I'm a recovering alcoholic.
True.
That makes me no. Those are called little people. 3R nomad. You can't call them that. God. And I can't even make fun of them because I'm too tall. It's impossible. You want to see Rachel? There she is.
Hi guys.
She's often sitting next to me, but she doesn't happen to me right now.
Yeah.
She's on camera a lot.
Sometimes I just like my little chair.
Yeah. She's more chilling. She's like half here, half in the chat, Mm-hmm. Little people is belittling. What we should call them is very large people.
Yeah.
And we should call, mentally disabled people geniuses. And we should call criminals upright citizens. So that way we don't have any bad words for people anymore. Wouldn't that solve all the problems?
I think so.
We just get rid of crime by making everything legal. Killing is wrong because some people don't have the ability to kill. That's an interesting answer. Therefore, it's not fair. If everyone had equal ability to kill, would it be fine?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Killing is not inherently wrong. That's the answer to your question. There's sometimes when killing is not wrong. When like this drunken brute is beating up your 7-year-old daughter and you're standing there with a gun. Well,
there was I told you that story about George Harrison where he
his wife?
A person snuck into his home and started stabbing George Harrison, and the wife came in, grabbed a kitchen knife, and stabbed the robber, criminal. So, sometimes you gotta do it.
Would you rather not shower for a year or not brush your teeth for a year? I'd rather not shower for a year, I guess. I just can't. It's like I don't brush my teeth super regularly, but I can't imagine going a whole year without brushing my teeth. I mean, I can't imagine going a whole year without showering either, but
Eric Clapton did steal George Harrison's. I don't know if they were. Yeah, wife. Yeah, you're right. The Way You Look Tonight is the song about George Harrison's wife at the time when they were married. Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that, Running Fox. I had a friend who killed himself. He was in his early 30s. I hadn't seen him much in a while, and of all the events from my past, that reality bothers me and continues to bother me that I didn't do more when I could have. I didn't do something when I could have. That I didn't. But it's like, I'm sorry to hear that happen. It's weird because being part of being FI polar means, and SI, is that I feel the FI stuff if I have a very comparable example in my own life. If I don't, then I don't feel you at all. But I feel you on this. That's really hard. It was really hard for me, and it's still hard. It's still hard.
That is.
I drive by his house all the time. His childhood house. I used to hang out there. It's the first place I ever got stoned. The first place I ever smoked bong rips was in his garage.
Damn.
And he was a smart guy, and yet not from an intellectual family at all, right? Like, so I think he was an ESTP probably. He could have been an intuitive though. I don't know, but he lost faith in himself and started saying he had a lot of really negative self narratives, and I didn't. It's like I wasn't wise enough then to even offer anything, so I don't know.
I think you might be right with ESTP because my uncle was like kind of going down that road because he was very young when his dad died, and yeah.
I mean, Charlie's dad was a sheriff, and very much like, just a hard ass, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
see, that's the thing, Running Fox. I don't believe that. That's the biggest problem. I don't believe there's nothing I could have done. I believe there was nothing I did. I did nothing. I don't believe there's nothing I could have done. But I would have had to go back. I started doing things a couple years prior, probably, But yeah,
but
it's
you
depressing.
But
like I said, this is why you're right, the Running Fox, and why I wasn't wise enough then. So I whatever I would have done wouldn't have worked anyway or something, or I don't know.
So like I knew someone who committed suicide too that I had gotten friendly with and I remember the day before he was talking about school and he was really struggling with it. And I was like, don't worry about it, you'll get through it, like 7 stuff, right? Like magical thinking, just get through it. And the next day, like he killed himself, and I was like, did I minimize what he was trying to say? It's just
you can't blame yourself.
But there was nothing there was nothing that anyone in that group of people even that we could have said that would have made him change his mind. It's
no, don't sorry, Running Fox. It's a topic worth talking about, even though it's depressing.
Birthday.
Sub, please, I want to answer your question. Would you rather live an extra 100,000 years and go to hell, or die today and go to heaven? I want to tour both heaven and hell before making my choice here. Okay. You're asking me, do I want to go to place X or place Y? I've never seen place X or Y. I have no idea what they're really like. I can't possibly make that decision. So I'll just avoid making any sort of bargain with you until and unless you offer me a full tour of both places in advance. Well, I mean, what do I think they look like? I'm assuming that based on the narrative I've heard, that heaven has pearly gates. So I'm envisioning a whole mother of pearl kind of color scheme, very pastel, a lot of clouds, white fluffy clouds. I'm picturing, big white staircase, and there's a throne on top, and you can't see the head of who's sitting on the throne because it's so bright, but it's actually God up there, I picture Jesus coming around and selling Girl Scout cookies.
I don't think
no one's ever been able to explain why.
Yeah, I don't think I think there's many reasons. We may never know why there's some people kill themselves. Like,
oh yeah, that.
I just had to say that.
Okay.
I just had to say that. You know, like I don't think we can really say that we'll ever really know why some people do. You know, just it's.
I gotta say it's one of the worst things you could do in some sense, because I'm quite convinced that if Charlie had died in a car crash or something, I would have stopped thinking about his death long ago. You know? Instead, I feel responsible for it somehow. So it's quite an action for somebody to take in that regard. You're seizing headspace in the head of everybody you've ever known for the rest of their lives. It's an incredibly selfish act. Yeah.
Do you think it is?
Do I feel bad for him or for myself? I feel guilty. I don't feel bad for him or me, really. I feel guilty.
Guilt is such a heavy emotion.
You know, it's like, is that feeling bad? I guess that's feeling bad. But it's not feeling bad for him or me. It's feeling guilty.
Because the guilt's in the lesson, I guess, is they say guilt is either you change something about it that'll make you feel better, or you don't do it again.
Well, I do think I'm a much better person now, but I don't think it really has anything to do with that specifically. It's not like I learned from that guilt. It's just that to some extent, I suppose it informs my overall worldview, makes me a better person. Well, the nice thing about being bipolar is, until Rachel brought it back up, I had already completely segued from it and forgotten all about it.
I was reading someone's quote. I'm sorry.
All right, baby, it's fine. I'm not critiquing you. Never. Okay? You know I adore you.
Thank you, baby.
I really do feel a lot of emotional affections and moist tendernesses towards Rachel.
I'm so lucky for that. I do too.
And like the longer we're together, the more satisfying the whole thing is. ENTP is way more tribal than INFJ. Yeah, probably. You can become a better person by loving yourself. INFJ is happily self-oriented. I am in that regard. Well, you know, it's weird. I think what you're saying is completely correct, Alan Bryant, and yet the evidence would somewhat suggest otherwise. Like, for example, Rachel's more impacted by the arrival of Pete in the backyard or trouble in the backyard. She feels obligated to go feed them and resentful of it, right? And my attitude is just don't feed them. You know, fuck them then. You know, I just ignore it. Not trouble. Trouble has got my heart. Trouble has won me over completely.
Trouble's afraid of me. Trouble knows that he's.
If I were a cat, Trouble would turn me gay. He is a handsome cat.
He really is. He's a sweetie too. Since he and Pee-Pee have stopped fighting, it's just so sweet. Like, he's just become a sweetheart. It's very nice. He's pretty much our cat. I just don't want him to come in here and eat Pee-Pee's food because then she gets pissed at that.
Well, also he'll spray in here, which we don't.
No, and I don't want him to spray.
Let's drop a suicide subject now. It's wearing me down. I don't like to hear sad stories. They can stick with me. I try to avoid FI, you know. It's like, see no FI, hear no FI, smell no FI.
How did you do that? How did you do with that? And, like, did you go to AA and stuff?
To quit drinking?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is this, regarding my quitting drinking and alcoholism and stuff, I'd been to AA multiple times prior to when I quit drinking. And every time I went to AA, it was always like, okay, well, I will take what I need from AA and I will reject the rest. And I'm not going to, um, I'm not going to give up my autonomy or my own thinking or whatever in order to fit in with this group. And they're wrong about a lot of things. And I'm not going to allow my need to quit drinking to sacrifice my intelligence or my critique or whatever. Well, the last time I went in, I said, I'm just going to try to do what they tell me to do. And that's it. And Eric, you need to stop listening to yourself. And that was the difference. So I got a sponsor. I tried to work the program like they said. I was very active in it through the end of China. So I quit drinking in late December, and I got back from China, I think middle of May, something like that. And from that point through middle of May, I was very into Alcoholics Anonymous. Once I went to China, I stopped like working the steps and doing all the official stuff, but I went to meetings every day. And mostly what I incorporated was the idea of prayer, which was very effective, I thought. And I built up around the idea of drinking a bunch of TI walls as to defeat any justifications that I could come up with. It's like I know my ways, and I know that I can come up with some pretty clever words to try to convince myself that it'll be okay to drink alcohol. So my process of quitting then was, one, relenting on the notion of being in control of everything, namely affording a magical thinking frame legitimacy within its domain, namely incorporating God and prayer as a faith-based behavior. And then the second thing was successfully preventing myself from cracking into that safe, which meant I had to anticipate and cut off with TI all of the arguments that I might make to justify myself drinking again. And then I had to ride through some moments of temptation. I remember the most tempted I got to drink was one time in Shanghai. It was very hot. I'd been riding on the subways for a while, and I got off the subway, and there was a bar there, and I just thought, like, oh my God, what do I want more than anything else right now? A gin and tonic. I would kill for a gin and tonic right now. A cold gin and tonic made with Tanqueray and or what's that other one called? Starts with the B. Bombay Sapphire. Oh, that would be fantastic. But in the end, what I did was I just stood there for a second, and I didn't really make a decision or think anything. I just continued walking on to the next subway car. And then I got home. And then I was like, I barely escaped that. But I did. And that was the closest I've gotten to drinking in the last 6+ years.
Good for you.
Thanks, darling.
No, I was wondering, because I felt like when I went to AA meetings, there were some like real FI stories. How did you deal with that? Did you let yourself were you affected at all by it?
Not really. I wasn't listening very much to that stuff. It's like I was listening for TE when I was in AA. Things that you're supposed to do. Pointless hoops to jump through. I've given up my eternal battle against pointless hoops. AA, bring them on. Throw some pointless hoops at me. I want to jump through them as well as I can. And ultimately, that's the key. It's about humility. It's about going, I can't do this. I am a failure, a complete failure at this. I cannot. My deliberative approach, which is to be logical, keeps telling me that there is no way in hell that I am powerless over alcohol. That phrase is false. I can prove it time and again that I'm not powerless over it. That's ridiculous. I'm not going to agree with that because it's not true. But it's a hoop to jump through. Well, you better figure out how to agree with it then. If your goal is to jump through the hoop correctly, you'll figure out how you can agree with it instead of why you can't agree with it. And that's the difference. It's willingness and humility.
What? Humility.
Those are the things that got me to quit drinking. That's because what does that indicate? It indicates you really actually want to quit drinking.
Yeah.
You want to quit drinking more than you want to maintain your own bullshit. I mean, it is. That's the thing. The first step is admitting to yourself genuinely that you can't handle this yourself any longer. That it's not working, you know? And it's very tough for a TI tool user because it doesn't make any logical sense. I have free will. I don't have to continue. I can choose in advance to drink 2 beers and then stop drinking after that and have it apply. No problem. And sometimes it would. And, you know, it's like, I don't understand this, you know? But the reality is one of the expressions that I determined that helped me to come to terms with understanding it was alcohol is a drug that causes me to make poor decisions about whether or not to consume more alcohol. And that seemed a objectively true statement to me. And I was able to, see Legends Fall. I was on that page as well. And the thing is, Sean O'Neill, there's good reason to believe that there is some genetic aspect to it because the very first time I drank alcohol when I was in 7th grade, it was at a family Thanksgiving thing. My cousin's parents would let them have a little bit of wine at the bottom of a glass for special dinners and stuff. And so I got my parents to agree to it. And I spent the whole rest of the time when people weren't looking, refilling my glass. I was the drunkest person there. And that's the first time I'd ever officially been able to drink alcohol. Now, keep in mind also, my dad had a fun thing he did when I was a little kid. If I had the hiccups, he'd give me a cap full of brandy to get rid of the hiccups. So until my mom made him stop one time. She caught him doing it and made him stop. And then he didn't do it anymore. But I don't think that had anything to do with my alcoholism at all. It's like even before I had any kind of drugs or alcohol, I was trying to change my head. I did this like hyperventilating thing in class and in middle school. And it's at the end of class before lunch, then I stand up and I get this head rush that I liked and stuff. I was always looking for a head change. So, part of being a responsible human being in life is to acknowledge that different people have their what you call your Rachel?
I'm sorry.
The thing is, it's like everybody has their thing that they tweak out on, whatever it is. Okay. And a lot of people judge other people for the things that they tweak out on, not recognizing their own shit is the same thing. Like, because what they're tweaking out on is something that's got a bad name, like if you're tweaking out on tweak, if you're a meth head, you really aren't going to get any widespread acceptance of that if you were to go publicly say, well, right now I'm kind of into meth. I'm smoking a lot of meth right now. So
Houston tried.
You can't sell that as like normal behavior, right? So
speaking of could I have a joint? Do you even know?
yeah, sure.
Or is that wasteful?
No, that's fine. We probably need to go to the weed store again. No, we have some more weed in here too. Joint here.
I I was just looking at the letters. That's why I was like totally transfixed.
Oh, I just worry because I don't know if that thing's whatever it is you're
I
hearing
know
is
that
copyright.
you're gonna get the thing for. I know. I'm sorry. I didn't
That's
know.
no big deal. No need to apologize.
It looks like she possibly fell down the staircase.
Did she?
Possibly.
Is she okay?
I don't know.
Should I call her?
If you want to. I mean.
That tower card.
See, I don't know now because it's on her Instagram.
Well, let me just call her and see what she says. Oh, phone, why do you always have things to deal with? Rachel, Amtrak's trying to sell you train tickets. Okay. I suggested that possibly means that last year around this time we briefly shopped for train tickets, and it remembers and is keeping track of that. When I say these things, Rachel, I do not mean to make you feel bad. I'm so sorry. I just think it's like kind of funny,
It is funny.
Do I watch Netflix? We used to have Netflix. We no longer do. Basically,
it was on Prime.
We should maybe get it.
I thought you had Prime.
Maybe I do.
I think you do.
I don't
get emails for it.
Maybe I do have Prime.
Because if we do, then there's a lot of free movies on that.
Yeah. I think, is that where we watched The Land of Steady Habits? Remember that movie? It starred the lady who was in The Sopranos.
Oh, yeah. No, that was Netflix.
Oh, that was Netflix? Okay. Yeah. That's a really good movie, by the way. Really good. I really enjoyed that movie. I enjoyed it twice, in fact. I enjoyed it the first time I watched it, and I enjoyed it rewatching it with Rachel.
That guy's performance is really good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
The Land of Steady Habits, it's called. A movie I very much enjoyed. What streaming devices do we watch? Well, we have Crunchyroll.
Yes.
For anime, and
I'd say prices on YouTube can be really cheap sometimes. Like, so like I got Sex in the City through YouTube, and they had a sale on it. I got it for 50% off for $30 the whole season, like all seasons, where it's regularly 7 days. So you can really you can get good deals on YouTube.
Well, here's the thing about YouTube. The reality is YouTube's a very expensive way to buy media, because instead of getting 10 seasons as part of a whole package of stuff that includes a bunch of other stuff, you just get the 10 seasons. But regardless, I'm with Rachel. I like getting media on YouTube. I rent movies on YouTube.
Yeah.
I get seasons of shows on YouTube. And the reason I like it is because you get exactly what you want and nothing else. And I mean, isn't that how buying stuff's supposed to work?
I mean, like, I rented Little Women today, and that movie came out around this time last year, and I got it for, I think, $12.99. That's good for a new movie.
Now, my question is, when they cast that movie, did they try to find the littlest women they could to cast in it?
No. I have to say, I saw the new Little Women. I'm more a fan of the 90s version. Just saying I think that also, I think, makes me an 8 as well. Like, I like to tell people my opinion. Like, 8s like to say their opinion a lot.
I mean, I think the best deal on the internet as far as media goes is Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
For $10 a month, you get unlimited amount of anime, and that's a lot of hours of media that you can enjoy for $10, right? Like, since I got Crunchyroll, we have watched, I don't know, 4 or 5 different anime series is all the way through episode 1 to episode whatever. You know, some of them are quite a lot of episodes too.
Yeah, Hunter x Hunter, that was very long.
Well, you say Go Anime does the same for free. I like Crunchyroll. I like their subtitles. I like, you know, it's not quite as smooth an interface as like Netflix. Netflix has a really good interface for like skipping to the next thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like he skips the intro, skips the outros and stuff like that. Long username. Skygear, the Lord of Long username. Skygear, did you see my my pinned comment on that video on that typing session? I should say that, make a video about things to remember about my typing sessions. Is just somebody might answer 4 or 5 TI questions in a row wrong, but I might not give any indication that they got them wrong. It doesn't mean I'm not aware that they got them wrong. Skygear pointed that out in the live chat of the last live stream, and I wanted to make that clear. You cannot conclude from my reaction in the stream that, for example, I think he got it right. That's not correct conclusion to draw.
We saw Lucifer in the weed store at Weed Mart one time.
Oh yeah, I was playing on TV at the weed store one time, but I've never watched that show. I've got to poop, and I think that's going to be my cue to wrap this one up here. And I wish you all a very good evening.
What time? How long?
It's been an hour and 30 minutes.
Wow.
And I'm going to push in stream now, and
If you want, I can try to entertain them.
no, I'm ready to
Wrap things up.
wrap things up.
Okay.
All right. See you
Bye,
all later.
guys.
Bye.